If the mesh stitch and the moss stitch had a baby, this would be it, and I would name it the open moss stitch. It has that easy open feel with the chain 2 spacing of a mesh and uses single crochets, keeping things neat and grounded like the moss. This stitch is so versatile, so to get things started in this video, I'll be showing how to work the stitch continuously in the round using a single color. Perfect for if you want something fast, relaxing, and truly mindless. But if you are up for a little bit of extra effort, I'll be sharing tips on how to switch colors cleanly to add more variety to your project. For these samples, I'm using a weight 4 cotton yarn with a 4mm hook. Typically with this weight yarn, a 5mm hook is recommended, but I feel a lot more comfortable with a 4mm. Plus this brand is a little bit thinner than a typical weight 4. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using a solid color for this, but if you have a self-striping yarn or a multicolored yarn, that would be perfect for this too. To begin, make a magic ring, or if you don't like making magic rings, chain 4 with a slip stitch to form a ring. So basically all we're doing for this pattern is a single crochet and a chain 2. So for round 1, we'll be doing 4 single crochets and 4 chain 2 spaces. Begin with a single crochet. And I'm going to pop a stitch marker in there just so you can clearly see where that very first single is when we come to the end. Chain 2, single crochet into the ring, chain 2, single crochet into the ring. That's 3 singles so far. Chain 2, single crochet into the ring. Now I'm going to leave this up to you, but I prefer to replace that final chain 2 with a half double crochet. That's because it places me into the middle of the corner, which is really useful whether I'm staying on the same side round after round or turning my work. So I'm going to add a half double crochet into the very first single made. And that's round 1 completed. For this sample, I am going to be turning my work after every round. That's because I highly recommend that if you are going to work this continuously to complete your project. It's going to prevent your square from skewing in the center or giving you those swishy corners. But if you're making squares that are only about 5 or 6 rounds, then you can absolutely stay on the same side. If you do want to stay on the same side, then just add a single crochet into that space, and then everything else will be the same. But if you are turning your work, chain 1 and turn. And again, single crochet into the same chain space. Technically it's a half double crochet space, but you know what I mean. Now we're just doing half of a corner now, working our way around and completing the corner on the other side. Chain 2 to get to the next corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the same chain 2 space. We're just going to do this all the way around. Everything is a chain 2, into the next corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the same chain 2 space. Chain 2 to get to the next corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the same chain 2 space. Tighten that center a little. Chain 2, and we're back to our very first corner. Here's the single crochet that we made for that first corner. Add a single crochet into that same space. And then again, instead of doing a chain 2, I'm going to do a half double crochet into the top of the very first single. So there's the V-stitch of the single, and there is the top of the stitch leaning slightly to the right because I'm right-handed. If you're doing this as a left-hander, then it will be slightly to the left. And that's round 2 completed. We're getting ready for round 3, and this is your repeat round. Chain 1 and turn, and add a single into the same space below. We have a chain 2 on our side here, a chain 2 space. We're going to work into it, but first we're doing chain 2, single crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, back to a corner, single, chain 2, single in the same corner space. We're back to a side, so chain 2, single in the chain 2 space, chain 2, back to a corner, single, chain 2, single into the same corner space, back to a side, chain 2, single into the chain 2 space, chain 2, back to a corner, single, chain 2, single, all in the same space, chain 2, back to a side space of chain 2, add your single crochet into there, chain 2, and we're back to the very first corner, add a single crochet, half double into the very first single. And again, you're just repeating round 3 until you complete your project, but I'll go ahead and do one more round with you just to make sure you've got it. Chain 1 and turn, single crochet into the very first corner space, chain 2, single in the chain 2 space on the side, chain 2, single into the chain 2 space, and don't forget that last chain 2 before that corner. That is so easy to skip over. At least it is for me. I would always forget that bit and go straight into that corner. Don't forget your chain 2 before your corner. In the corner, single, chain 2, single into the same corner space. Chain 2, single in the chain 2 space, chain 2, single in the chain 2 space, chain 2, single, chain 2, single in the same corner space. Just continuing all the way around. Coming to the final corner, don't forget the chain 2, single into that final corner, or beginning corner, whichever way you like to look at it, and then half double into that very first single made. To keep an eye on your stitch count, you're going to be increasing by 1 for every single round. And it stays in line with the round you're on. So for example, if you're working round 5, you'll see 5 single crochets on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you complete your project, snip your yarn and weave in your ends. A little tip here, if you want to make it even lacier, you can do the same pattern, but replace everything with a chain 3. Do exactly like we've been doing, but do chain 3 for your corners and chain 3 for your sides. Just like the solid color, you do have a choice between a chain 2 or a half double crochet to complete your round. If you prefer to change colors by completely fastening off and then reattaching your color, then just finish off with a chain 2. But if you want to change color as you go, then I would recommend that you stick with the half double crochet like I showed you in the first segment. For the color change, you can do it 2 different ways. You can complete the stitch like you see here. Take your hook and go through the 3 strands of yarn here on the side. Bring in your new color, pull it through all 3 loops to complete that stitch. Pull on the old loop to release it, and now you're ready for the next round. If you're staying on the same side, add a single crochet into the first corner, or if you're turning like I prefer to do, chain 1 and turn, and then add your single into the corner. I like doing it that way because it holds all of my stitches in place. It's a little less fiddly, but the classic way of doing a color change like this is exactly the same thing. You're just doing it before you complete the stitch. Getting ready to do my half double crochet, going into the stitch, pulling my yarn through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Now, instead of completing the stitch, I'm going to bring in my new color now and complete the stitch with my new color. Just take your yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. I find it really useful to tie the 2 ends together to just hold everything in place with both ways. And then single if you're staying on the same side, or chain 1 and turn, and work your single into that first corner space. You may have noticed this sample at the beginning of the video. This is just little mini squares joined together with a join as you go technique. I am really excited with how this is looking so far. I was going to show you how to do this today, but I really think it deserves a video on its own because there's a few different variations that I want to show you with this as well. So if you're interested in learning how to do a join as you go with this open moss stitch, be sure to let me know in the comments, then I'll be happy to work on a video for you. If you enjoyed this video, a like is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.